So it's a real privilege to have our next speaker here, Éanna Ní Lamhna. Now, Éanna is the foremost voice in Ireland on biology, biodiversity, conservation. She's a broadcaster on the subject. She's been listed as one of the most 100 influential people in Ireland. Those of you who watched Zig and Zag back in the day might recognise her off Creature Feature. From back then. Myself and Kieran and Katie were at the National Biodiversity Conference a couple of weeks ago, and Éanna stole the show. She was absolutely brilliant when I was there. I would love to get her here to talk about this we're very enthusiastic about forestry and that, but we have no expertise at this point. So if we can get the most expert voice in Ireland on stage to talk about it, you'll leave with really enriched thinking on it. So could you please put your hands together and give a big welcome to Éanna Ní Lamhna. Thank you very much.
No pressure there then, Al. Thank you very much. Can you all hear me? Because I'm supposed to take off my scarf, but I don't want to show off my wrinkles. So if you can hear me with my scarf on back ways, that's grand. Right, well, now I'm going to talk to you about, well, I see I'm supposed to be talking to you about native forests, but what I'm actually going to talk to you about is something much more important than that. I'm going to talk to you about how trees can save the planet. So trees aren't just something nice that you might plant in your backyard for Christmas. Trees are vital and we need more of them. And you already had a video this morning, I believe, about planting of trees with Wolfgang. They had been planting trees and showed you a video of that. Well, now, I see the last speaker was speaking about the world population, and I'm glad our graphs match. So you can see you can see this is actually a graph of the world population from Adam and Eve and long before Adam and Eve, indeed, to tell you the truth. So you can see we didn't get to the first billion, which is where that black line very conveniently is going across, until after 1800. So by 1900, we had 1.5 billion people on the planet. Now, my granny was born in 1900. I have a grandson, he's only little. He's only 5 months. He'll probably be around in this day and age by the year 2100. And in 2100, we reckon we're going to have 10.8 billion people on the planet. So between my grandmother and my grandson, this is not thousands of years, this is in 2 or 3 generations. Our population has gone up by that huge factor. And you can see it's going up exponentially because we've got rid of all the constraints. Nobody dies anymore. We don't even have a decent war to kill anybody. Well, 20 million were killed in the First World War, and most of them men, so that got rid of the population for a while. So as a result, the population is absolutely rocketing. And all of these people in the world are having a huge impact on the world in which we live. They're not making any more world. So if you look at the what we've done with the temperature of the atmosphere, we have an average, that black line across there where it says 1 is the average. There's some years above the average, some years below the average, so this is where you have your red and blue. But as in from 1926 onwards or thereabouts, we've only ever had it above the line. We've only had years hotter and hotter and hotter, and that's up to 2004, but I can assure you it hasn't gone down anything, it's gone up worse since. These are the statistics, these are the figures. This is not holy God, this is not an act of faith, this is science. So we needn't listen to Donald Trump and his creationists talking about the like of this. Now here's a graph with lots of things on it, but Alan told me you were all very clever and bright and that you were well able to look at graphs. So hopefully we are. So the red ziggy-zag line, as you can see on the top, is actually the temperature. Now, the temperature, obviously, some years are hot, some years are cold. It isn't, these are raw data. And you can see how they go up and down zigzag. But if you look at them, they're going up and going up and going up. And as from 1900 onwards, they're going up. Now, the second thing then, the second block that says CO2 emissions, this is what we're putting it with. So carbon dioxide emissions into the atmosphere, these are the concentrations, first of all, the brown block there. So this is the concentration of CO2 in the atmosphere, and again, it goes up and down and what have you, but then from 1800 onwards, it begins to rocket. And we're way up now, in fact, at 400 parts per million, which, given that the average until a while ago was much, much less than that, was about 200, it looks like the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere has doubled in the last 200 years. Underneath that, then, we have carbon emissions. How does the carbon get into the atmosphere? And in the olden days, 13, 14, 1500s, trees rotted away. The carbon that was in the trees was let back into the atmosphere, so it came and it went. But then from 1800 onwards, we had a different source of putting in carbon. So in fact, that pink bit at the end is actually burning fossil fuels. Oil was discovered, coal was burnt in quantity, and plants that had grown millions of years ago were suddenly, in 200 years, all their carbon was being shoved back into the atmosphere. And as well as that, we had more emissions coming from agriculture as well. So your green bit of the graph has changed as well and become much more of it, because we've changed and we've cut down our forests, we're growing more crops, we have more animals producing methane and the like. So our land use change has given rise to this as well. So here we have it. We have temperature rising, and I'm blaming carbon. Well, why on earth what does it matter if all this carbon is up in the atmosphere anyway? Well, here we have a very quick lesson in how it all works. So we have the sun up in the sky. That yellow oak over there is the sun. And the sun is shining down upon the earth. And like anything else, it shines down upon the earth, and it comes down in wavelengths. So if I get a football and I throw it at the wall over there, what's going to happen? It's going to hit the wall, it's going to stop, it's going to change direction, it's going to come back. Now, does it come back quicker or slower? Excellent. Sometimes people say quicker and it would knock me out, but no, it comes back slower. It's the very same thing with what happens with the energy coming from the sun. Comes out of the sun, hits the earth, and is reflected back. And it's reflected back slower than it came in, and the wavelength changes its shape. So the wavelength, the energy from the sun can come in through the atmosphere. The wavelengths are the right shape to get through the molecules in the atmosphere, which are oxygen, nitrogen, carbon dioxide, all the different things that are in the atmosphere. But then, when it goes out slightly slower, the wavelength is slightly longer, and it can't get through carbon dioxide. So if the atmosphere was 100% carbon dioxide, none of it would get out and we'd all burn to death. And if we had absolutely no carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, we'd all escape and we'd all freeze. But we're living in the Goldilocks planet, which is just right. And so some of the heat is reflected back, as you can stay there. Some of it is reflected back by the carbon dioxide, and indeed other gases, which we refer to as greenhouse gases. It's like the glass in a greenhouse. It reflects back some heat. So if we put more of the greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, more heat is reflected back. And as you saw from the last graph, we have doubled the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere in the last 200 years. So more heat is being kept on Earth and heating up the planet. And it's having all kinds of impacts on all sorts of things. But one of the very significant things that has had an impact on is on the ice in the Arctic. Now, if you look at the graph there, we're looking down upon the North Pole. We're looking at, so that white area is the sea ice in the summertime. The permanent sea ice, obviously in the wintertime, the sea ice increases. But if you can see an orange line drawn around that, that is the median from 1981 to 2010. The ice was out as far as that. And if you look at the north of Canada, for example, all of those islands where we can see that there's lake water now, that's the Northwest Passage. And that was always blocked with ice. Remember of Franklin and all these lads going off to try and find a way to go from the Atlantic Ocean by boat to the Pacific and got lost and all the rest of it. Now that thing is cleared in the summertime. Now we get fish, birds, everything from the Atlantic appearing in the Pacific and vice versa. And of course, the whole point is that this white area reflects back heat up into the atmosphere. If it's going, and it'll be gone entirely by 2050. Now, I'll probably be pushing up daisies by 2050, but you probably won't. And you won't be having any ice there, and there won't be reflection. It'll be darker. It'll be absorbing even more sunlight. So what's happening is that we are literally going to hell in a handcart. And hell is a hot place. So, I mean, we could go on about the impact of this on the Arctic and polar bears and all the rest of it, but really what we want to talk about are trees. And what's this? These are acorns. Now, what does an acorn weigh? We'll have a very convenient acorn, and we'll have it weighing 20 grams. Right, so we plant the acorn, and we go away for, I don't know, 20 years, and when we come back, we have, well, that's for more than 20 years old, but we have an oak tree, haven't we? And the oak tree, we can cut it down, and the oak tree weighs a ton. So where did the ton of stuff come from that's in the oak tree? Well, after planting an acorn, which only weighed 20 grams, and now we have a ton of stuff in the form of the tree. Where did that stuff come from? Well, don't all rush together with your answers. You don't expect me to do all the talking, do you? And you've any suggestions as to where it might have come from? Some people say the earth. Grand. So as you know, matter can either be created or destroyed. So if a ton of earth went up into the tree, there's a big hole under the tree where the ton of earth came from. Is there a hole under the tree? Oh, no, there isn't. So it didn't come. It didn't come from the soil, and it didn't come from the sun. Every time we grow a tree, another pimple appears on the sun because it went into the tree. No, it didn't. And it didn't come from the rain, because if you took the tree and wrung it out, all the water would go. The tree is actually made of air. Now, this might seem I've lost it, but I haven't. It's made from the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. All the carbon atoms, see, when photosynthesis takes place, when the leaves are growing, they take the CO2, and that's the magic thing photosynthesis is. It actually splits CO2, saves all the carbon in the tree. The tree is made of carbon, and the oxygen is what we breathe. Very convenient. So we wouldn't have life on Earth if we didn't have the phenomenon, the miracle, call it what you will, the scientific reaction, which is photosynthesis. So that's what trees do. They can take carbon out of the atmosphere and store it in their bodies. So this is a way, the only way, nothing else has ever been invented like photosynthesis for taking carbon out of the atmosphere. Phew, there's something to do it. So we're planting trees like bejesus. We're not cutting down forests anywhere. We're really, really stuffing the world with trees, aren't we? Aren't we? We've no natural rainforest entirely at all left in the Far East. All those rainforests over there. And if you think of the globe, the fattest bit is the bit around the middle. So we've most of the biggest area is that area there where the rainforests are. So we should be delighted with these big fat trees. Not at all. All the ones in Asia are all gone. The ones in Africa are under threat. The Amazon is being cut down because we want to be having the oil and stuff to burn again even more. And it's the only way that we're going to get carbon out of the atmosphere. But anyway, we're very enlightened in Ireland. We wouldn't do anything like that. Well, would we? This is forest cover in Europe in 2010. Look at Finland, aren't they great up there at the top? And Sweden and Slovenia. I don't know exactly how far you can back or how much you can read, but I can read, thank God. And down at the end, the very last two countries, the worst in Europe, and they're both the same, Ireland and the Netherlands. Null point. Well, not quite. Ireland has 11% of the country covered in trees, and so has the Netherlands. Even the Brits, even the UK, they've got 12%. So up in Finland, up in Norway, up in those countries, 76, 75. The EU average is 38%. We are a disgrace. It's not as if the trees won't even grow here. It's not as if the country is full of people. I mean, there's whatever, 16 million people living in the Netherlands if we multiplied it up. Ireland has 5 million people. We've plenty of space. And what have we got here? 11% of the country covered in trees. There's the map of the counties with the trees in it. The county with the most trees in it is actually Leitrim. You all know where Leitrim is, that skinny one up there in the corner. There's Wicklow. They're the most wooded counties, but some counties have very little woodland in them. And Irish people don't like trees. Heaney, a wonderful poet, has said in his thing, in one of his poems, that the house of the settler is known by the trees. In other words, the house of the planter is known by the trees. We have always considered trees in Ireland to be something to belong to the gentry. Now, whenever Ireland came out of the Ice Age, 85% of the country was covered in trees because it was our natural wood, our temperate forest was the natural vegetation. People came and cut them down and had land and agriculture and all the rest of it. And by 19, and then, of course, we have to blame the Brits for everything, don't we? In 1600, we had various plantations, and one of them that was a really good fella was Cromwell. Oliver Cromwell was really good. He brought over all his armies and did terrible things to us and all. But he didn't pay his soldiers. He gave them the land if they won. So the soldiers, the Cromwell won, as you know, plantation of Leinster, plantation of all the middle of the country, and they weren't really welcome, those soldiers, would you imagine? So they acid stripped. They took the trees that they were getting on the lovely land that they had got, cut them down, sold them off for shipping, sold them off for boats in the British Army, what have you, and scuttled off back to England. So between 1600, when we exported trees, by 1700 we imported trees. And there's the wonderful poem that you all learnt in school, I hope you're still being taught it, called The Enemy's Fast the Gunimud, What Are We Going to Do without timber? So by the time 1904 came, we had 3% of the country covered in trees. That's all. So from then, there's been a policy to reforest the country, but as you can see, we're not doing so well. So it's vital that we should do this. 1 tonne of carbon is 1 cubic metre of timber. So carbon, this is carbon in the atmosphere that we put out. Now, a fully grown tree contains 5 cubic metres of timber. So it has to grow fast to be a fully grown tree. So a Sitka spruce tree, which is an evergreen tree, grows summer and winter, can be that size in 40 years. A native oak tree will take 100 years to get to that, but they will hold 5 cubic metres of timber. Now, 5 tonnes of carbon is a fully grown tree, and that's the amount of emissions 1 house and 2 cars per year put out. So if you planted a tree every year for 40 years, each year 1 tree would cope with that, and you should have started 40 years ago. We haven't much forest, 11%, so we only absorb 3.6 million tonnes of carbon, which is only 6% of our annual emissions of 61 million tonnes. So a population of 5 million people are putting up 61 million tonnes of carbon into the atmosphere. And the only way we can stop it is either stop emitting it, which is, of course, one way, and we're working on wind farms and, energy cars done with electricity. There's all of that end of things. But there's also the sucking it out of the air job, and that's what the trees actually do. And here's your Sitka spruce. Sitka spruce come from the west coast of North America. They grow really fast, 40 years, and people think they're the spawn of the devil. They couldn't grow Sitka spruce. Oh my God, no, that would be dreadful. Tree is a tree is a tree. A Sitka spruce forest is a crop, like the way barley, wheat, anything else is, holds timber, holds carbon, and it gives them rural employment and everything else. And it's one way of looking at things, and it's good for carbon. But on the other hand, then, we have our native woodlands. And here's the native woodland here, a beautiful place to go. Here we have our trees in autumn, all the lovely golden leaves on the ground, good for our mental health, good for our physical health. I can't see you, which is a pity. But if I could ask you, how many of you have ever climbed a tree? We did a survey a few years ago, 2 years ago, because I'm the Vice President of the Tree Council of Ireland, and we discovered that 40% of Irish kids have never climbed a tree. 40%. Now, you're not kids, I do appreciate that. I know you're very young, but you're not that small. But kids are not allowed out to play by themselves anymore. When I was young, me and Finn McCool, your mother used to say to you, go out and play, and don't come in unless you're bleeding. Nowadays, kids are not let out by themselves. The bogeyman might run away with them or whatever, and they don't want to go out anyway, and that's for climbing a tree. So it's really, really important to climb trees. It's really, really important to have woodlands. They're good for our mental health. They're good for the environment. They're good for the atmosphere. So we plant a tree every year for 40 years because every growing tree is going to lock away CO2 and slow down climate change. So your host company here, Wolfgang, they have planted trees. They showed you a video of this earlier on. You're not all from that company. Most of you are not. So this is a job for everybody. What you want to do is get some land, go off and put in trees. Really easy to do. We just had National Tree Week last week, and the National Tree Council of Ireland were with them, Quilter giving out trees to various community areas. I was down in Abbott myself, down in Clonmel, planting trees down there. It's really important. We can all do it, and all we need is the will to do it. If you don't actually have anywhere to plant a tree yourself, personally, you can get the Tree Council to, they have a website too, I better get in on this website business, treecouncilofireland.ie. They will plant a tree for you for a stipend, cross their palm with silver. But it's really, really important because we are the ones, I mean, look how many people we have in the world already, 7, nearly 8 billion. It's not going to get any better unless some terrible plague comes, and we're going to be putting more and more demand on the world in which we live. We're nearly gone over the tipping edge already for the amount of heat that's in the atmosphere. So we can curse the darkness or we can light the candles. You can plant trees, or indeed, you've all been given one of these, one for everyone in the audience. And what you have here is a seed bomb. So you take off the lid, it's like a grenade or some warlike thing like this, and you fill it up with water and it all soaks up. And then you're meant to chuck it over the wall and make it grow. Now, it won't grow if you throw it on the grass. I don't know why anyone grows grass. Grass is an awful waste of space. You have to be mowing it all the time, getting rid of it. And it's a real bully. So if you throw this on the grass, it'll just sit there on the grass and the birds will come and eat the seeds. So you want to throw it on poor soil, a building site, some waste ground, somewhere where there's bare soil, because these kind of flowers will do really, really well on the poorest possible soil. So if you do want to put it in your garden, lift away the soil, take off the top sods and put it onto the bare soil and put sand or something on top of it, make the soil poor. And what we get are lovely flowers which will contain things like pollen and nectar, which are really good for our pollinating insects. And it's really important because if we don't have pollinating insects, we won't have any fruit, we won't have any veg. We'll all be stuck with wind-pollinated things. And as you all know, that's all grasses. So we'll be eating wheat and barley and drinking pints and eating sandwiches, and that's it, with nothing in them. No jam, no cucumbers, no fruit like that. So we need to keep our pollinators going. Now, in America, where they don't have much cop on about these things, they have their, but I'm not giving out the Brits as the Yanks get it, but anyway. Huge fields. Huge, enormous fields, no place for wildlife, no place for things like these. And as a consequence, they have to bring around their bees on the backs of lorries to pollinate the almonds, to pollinate the soya, whatever else. And the poor old bees are a bit moithered. I mean, bees come back to where they are. They do wiggle dances. There's flowers over here, girls, and they all come back. There's flowers over there, and they all come back. And there's flowers over there, and they all come back, and there it is gone. Their beehive has gone off in a lorry somewhere else. So they're suffering from colony collapse. In other words, they're nervous wrecks over there. We don't want to be doing that sort of thing here. We need to be keeping our pollinators going. So again, when you're planting the tree, excellent, and throw your bombs in the right places as well. Thank you very much for giving me an audience. That's all right.